What's up, everyone? Welcome to Tuesday. It's that time again. It's Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock, time for macro talk. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about macro. And I was going to do a demonstration tonight. A demonstration of something pretty impressive that I've discovered. But I can't do it, because I messed up the OBS thing again. I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to try. I discovered a new diffuser, and yeah, it's impressive. In fact, we won't kick off with that. We'll kick off with saying some hellos first, because I've got several things I want to talk to you about tonight. But definitely we'll get to the demonstration in a minute. I was trying to set up two cameras, but somehow when I set up the second one, it messed up the first one. Go figure. This stuff is so complicated. But I do want to show you this diffuser, and I set up a demonstration so that you could see that it's better than anything else in the world for diffusing stuff. And I've never heard of it before, so it's going to be exciting. And yeah. Oh, you're hearing an echo. How about now? Still an echo? Tell me if you can hear an echo. And if you can't, that's good. And let me see. Who knows what's going to happen when I switch scenes? But can you still hear the echo, Phil? All right, Joseph doesn't hear any echo, 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 echo. I'm guessing it's better. Okay, good. Steve said it's better. It's going to be worse when I go to other scenes, I bet, like this one. Who knows what's going to happen there? Can you hear me at all? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. It was a bit of a disaster trying to get these cameras set up so I could do the demonstration. But I think I've probably got enough that we'll be able to at least show you the demonstration of the new diffusion material. So let's see who's here. Arthur's here. And yep, his echo's better though. That's good. Walter's here too, and he wanted to know, have you ever experienced a situation in which you're using the right step size but it isn't small enough for a particular subject? What a good question. Yes, a lot, but last weekend was the most recent time. The problem is you've got to define these terms, and you've got to define how you're telling that it's not enough of a short enough step. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. It depends on how you look at the picture and what your eyes are like to determine whether or not you have focus banding at a given step length. The question is, how do you calculate it? Because all these calculations are just estimates. And there was a calculation that I was using from an old calculator that I've been using ever since I started doing this. It turns out that the step length they recommended was about 3 times what Rick Littlefield's calculator came up with. So when I look at those photographs at 100% and actually go looking for bands of softness, I can find them in many of my pictures. So that was the correct step length, and the picture was not good. So it kind of depends how you're going to define good for the picture and how you're going to define a calculated step length. The bottom line is this: it's complicated. The calculators are only giving you estimates, and we don't know how you're going to define whether or not the picture is sharp. This all started when I sent a stereo pair to Rick, and he looked at it and came back and said, your layers have separated. So what do you mean my layers have separated? The picture looks fantastic, and it does look fantastic from a certain distance. But at 100% with a magnifying glass, it looked terrible. The layers had in fact separated. So, you know, I would urge you to think about what you're planning on doing with the picture, how you're going to look at it, what you consider to be the correct step length, and look at all of those things and modify them as need be. The end result is you've got to like the picture, and it's not really only you that has to like it. But that's caused me to go with caused me to go with shorter step length recently. And I'm starting actually to go back up a little bit, because I've discovered that even at 100%, I can't see problems with many of my shots when I'm using this very short step length. So it's a complicated mess, and my answer wasn't very good for your question, Walter, but you're on the right track if you're thinking about it. Greetings, Robert. Glad you could make it. And Robert has a question. When you use the Raynox behind the EL Nikkor 2.8N, which one do you use? Which Raynox do I use? I use the 200mm one, the 150. Yeah, I guess you could use the 250. I mean, you'll just have to reposition it to get what you're looking for as far as your magnification goes. Yeah, but all the ones I talked about in the live stream, that was using the 150. And Robert, I need to clear something up with you about this video that I did with Stuart. Did anybody see that video with Stuart Wood that I did before the weekend? He's a terribly nice chap. He and I had a long conversation. It was a lot longer than we recorded. And we talked about all manner of things. And we're going to talk about all manner of more things at a later date, because we didn't get to about half the things on our list because he keeps getting off the subject. No, it wasn't me, it was him. He'd wander off the subject and we'd have to bring him back around and then start over again. But apparently I made a funny joke that I completely missed. But Robert thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard in his life, and he thought that definitely that video would go viral because of it. And I still don't know what he's talking about, and I've looked at the video. So Robert, what is it you're talking about that I said that was so funny? It has something to do with a brewed substance? Anyway, I can't wait to hear, because yeah, if it was funny, it was by accident. It really was. Hey Patrick, how are you? Good to have you with us. I saw you at the weekend, didn't I? Very good. Steve, sunny Vancouver. How about that? That's a turn up. And Larry's here. Good to have you with us, Larry. Larry's been super helpful with me in my 3D printer journey, which just started a few days ago. I'm looking for a 3D printer. Why, you ask? Well, to print things, to finish up my languishing projects because of lack of 3D printed parts. And why am I buying one when I don't have any money, you're asking? Well, I'm not. It was donated, which is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. The same man that brought you the insect study, Jan Nelson, the benefactor that allowed me to do all of that work with the bug vendors, also thought it was a time that I finished these projects so that I could tell you about them. So he is helping me get a 3D printer, and I am so excited. We talked about it at the Patreon meeting this last weekend, and I got lots of good advice. But I want to run it up the flagpole here as well, because I know that a lot of you guys are 3D printers. Not you physically are not a 3D printer. That would be uncomfortable. No, you're especially your hot end. No, you're a person with a 3D printer that does 3D printing. So I want to tell you what it is I'm thinking about getting, and you can tell me yay or nay, or make an alternate suggestion. Based on the remarks I've heard, the couple of videos I've watched, and comments I've heard from other people, I'm thinking about getting the Prusa Mark III with, yeah, that's it. That's the one I'm thinking of. It's a bit more expensive, but it'll be worth, collecting deposits on bottles for to make up the difference. So that's the one I'm thinking about. And when it comes to the CAD software, Fusion 360 is what has been recommended to go with that. So tell me what you think. I know that some of you will have strong opinions on that. Larry was in agreement with this general plan. The other one I'm looking at is called a bamboo. It's misleading because it's not made of bamboo, it's made of metal, which is good. And yeah, it's got things about it that I like. It's got an enclosure so you can print nylon. I've always wanted to print nylon, and some of my projects need nylon stuff. Anyway, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. And Susan, good evening. How is Huntsville today? It's been gorgeous down here. Lovely spring day today. Larry mentions RIP to DPR, and yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. There aren't that many good sites, good channels out there when it comes to reviewing tech equipment in photography, but DPR was one of them. And it is a shame. I don't know if the chaps are going to go on and do something else, or if they're just folding up their tent and going home. But I'll tell you, it doesn't bode well for those of us who are in the business. To have something as a stalwart like DPR go under the waves, that's a bit depressing. Because if anybody should have made it through to the end, it will be them. But anyway, any thoughts you have on that, let me know. Let me know, because I'd be interested to hear what you think. I was speaking to Carlos earlier, and yeah, he thinks it's a good thing. I mean, not a good thing that they went under, but for those of us who are maybe creating new websites of our own, it'll be possibly a silver lining. Who knows? I hope so. Macro everything around me. You got the prints. Fantastic. I'm so glad you like them. Excellent. Oh, you're keeping it sealed until after your trip this weekend. Okay, well, that's good. So you didn't like them. Oh, you just liked getting them. Okay, good. Well, yes, Macro Everything Around Me won the competition 2 months ago with his little silica gel beads, and we couldn't decide what to give him for a prize, and he asked if he could have a print. So I sent him 2 of my photographs, big ones, signed, and they were nice. They printed them specially for him, and I think they were a decent prize. But I would think that because I took the pictures, and if they were terrible, it wouldn't be a very good prize. So there you go. And I'm glad he got them, and it does set a bit of a precedent. I mean, that's a good prize there definitely. We've got more prizes, by the way. Another donor, this one is Bud. You know Bud has donated some microscope objectives that will be with us in the near future, and they're going to be prizes as well in the competition. Have you turned in your competition photograph yet? Your body part? We need it. We need it. The robots are getting restless. And yeah, the person that turned in the head of a fly, that's not a body part. It's a body part if you're a fly, but you're not a fly. I know you. You're not a fly. So think about it. Let me see. Who else? Oh my goodness. I see a super chat from P, which I'm guessing. Well, how do you know who the super chat is? It's Patrick. It must be Patrick because he's done that before. He has a record of doing that. Patrick, I'm going to assume that's you for 20 CHFs. Thank you. I still don't know what a CHF is or if it's worth anything, but I'm guessing it's worth something. Thank you. Thank you for that. A CHF, by the way, is a Swiss franc, I think, or a Swiss euro franc. I don't know. Right. Where were we? We were somewhere. I know we were. We were at Phil from Cambria in California, who said hi, and I said hi back. And Bruce said, howdy, everyone, because he's in the land of wallabies. Wallaby land, kangaroo land. Oh, Australia. I'm a quick study, aren't I? Gary, welcome. Glad you made it. Mike, good evening from rainy Phoenix now. This weather's a mess, isn't it? I mean, you're supposed to be boiling hot. We're supposed to be pouring with rain. It's the middle of winter, and yeah, it's not. Terrible, strange. All right, Toluca, greetings. How are you? And Alistair, ready for another one? Okay, well, we're in the middle of one. Arctic Penguin, greetings from Seattle. Welcome. And Seabell from the Kakistocratic Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Did you just make that up? I think you probably did, because I've never heard of that kind of Kakistocratic. Should I know what that is? Probably I should. I'll look it up. And Anaphylaxis, my single favorite person's name in the whole world, is back from Huntington Beach, California, or back to Huntington Beach and back to us. Welcome, Anna. I do love your name. Jeff, greetings from Idaho. They grow potatoes there, by the way. And Bud Parrott is here from Douglasville, Georgia. They grow Atlantas there. They have one big, enormous one growing out of them right now. Paul, Minnesota. Patrick from Switzerland. Greetings. Patrick is a numbers man. Not the criminal kind of numbers man. He just likes Fibonacci's numbers, which is different from running numbers. Let me see. Arthur is wishing everybody well. Laura's from rainy and chilly Illinois. Well, there you go. I've told you once, I'll tell you 100 times, you shouldn't have gone up there. It's snowy and all kinds of evil stuff. Righty-ho. So, JD and J Paquette, welcome everybody. They're in Bothell, Washington. And apparently, JD or J or both know Arctic Penguin. That's a small world, isn't it? I suppose if you had a friend named Arctic Penguin, you'd be pretty sure that if one signed up for another live stream, that it would be the same one. There can't be many Arctic Penguins. Anyway, Robert, you're in Illinois as well. You should wave and say hi to Laura. She's just up the road or down the road from you. And it's sunny in Detroit again. I'm beginning to doubt that it is, Joseph. You know, this could have been a very easy demonstration tonight. I could have just told you, hey, this new stuff that I found is better diffusion material than anything I've ever tried. But then I thought, you know what? Joseph will be here. And if Joseph's here and I don't have all of my bases covered, he'll ridicule me for my testing. So I've been very thorough about it. Should we take a break from saying hello and go over and do the test? Because it comes with some interesting background information. And then a little bit later on, I want to tell you a story. Now, whether or not you can hear me, that's really a very good question. I wonder if I should I'm going to try it. And you tell me if you can hear me. I'm going over to the test thing, but this is what it's going to look like. So, all right. Now, you can't see me yet, can you? I'm going to move some things around, seeing as I've got one camera less than I thought I did. All right. Now, I am just going to stand here for a couple of seconds and explain what the experiment is going to be. Somebody has to say, yeah, we can still hear you. I'm going to go check. All right. Did you hear me? Yes. Did anybody hear me? Don't hear any echo, echo, echo. That's an old message. So does anybody actually hear me when I'm over in the far corner of the room? I'm waiting to hear. You know what? I'm just going to point the microphone over there is what I'm going to do. Yep. That's cheating, but all right. Let's try that. Okay. Yes, that you can hear me. All right, fantastic. Now, here's the deal. This is the experimental area. And what I was going to do was, I was going to show you the diffusion material that I'm using is better than whatever it is you're using, because it is. And to test it, I was going to shine a light on this white board here and then put diffusion material so you could see what happened to the light. Well, the light that I was using, which is the most dangerous light I've ever seen in my life, exploded. Here it is. It's a video light. And it explains why nobody takes videos anymore with 250 watt Super 8 cameras. This thing put out so much heat that the diffusion material started smoking, and then this blew up. So it doesn't work anymore, which is a shame because you should have seen how bright this was. Instead, I've rigged up a LED. I'm going to go check and see if you can hear me. Just chat amongst yourselves. Ouch. Oh, can you still hear me when I'm over there? Yes. Volume very low. That's the problem. Okay. All right. I am going to not be in the picture for just a second and hang on. Okay. This won't take but a second. All righty. Now you should hear me loud and clear. I'm guessing you can, and I am going to move around to the other side here. You can see the screen, and I am going to turn on my LED light. Now, if all's working, you should see a nice white screen, and I'm back behind here. And now you also should be able to hear my voice. Volume's good here. Still a little low, but okay. Well, I'll just have to shout a little. No, I can actually turn it up a little. Is that any better? Probably not. Well, there we go. That sounds a little bit louder. All right. So here's the way we're going to do it. Can you see this? This is our test subject. This is the diffuser that we're going to test the others against. It's nothing. It's air. And this is just for Joseph. This is what the diffuser number 1 looks like. Nothing. It just is the light. Here is diffuser number 2, which is another control subject. There we go. So, can you see how diffuser number 2 works? It's very good. Almost completely blocks the light because it is in fact just a black piece of card, foam board. So we know that the experimental setup works. Now we're going to use my old standby, a piece of tracing paper. This is a regular sheet of tracing paper, and when I hang it in front of the light, you get a fairly soft, but also with some spots of light that are reflections of the LED bulbs. So it's not completely diffused. And that was why I switched to using vellum. And the vellum is much better. This is the vellum. So you get a much smoother, you lose about half a stop of light above the tracing paper, but I couldn't find my light meter this afternoon, so I couldn't measure it. But there is still a hot spot that I can see. I don't know if it shows up on the camera. Yeah, on the left-hand side, a little bit. It's not bad, and this is definitely better. But the material that I found is this. I'll tell you what it is after I show it to you. So that's one piece, and as far as I can see, there is no hot spot, and it's a much more even and complete diffusion. When I add a second layer, because this stuff is very thin, it drastically cuts the amount of light, but look how smooth and even the diffused light is. This is going to become my go-to in the macro studio, because this stuff is really amazing. It feels like plastic, but it has the qualities of paper, but it doesn't tear. It doesn't tear at all. It's indestructible as far as ripping it goes. And when you cut it, it sounds strange. It sounds like some kind of odd plastic. Does anybody know what it is? I'm going to go get the roll. Oh. What this stuff is, it was a mystery to me. I found a plotter at a thrift shop. It was a big Hewlett-Packard plotter from 1,000,000 years ago, and it's the kind of thing that you make blueprints with. Well, it turns out that back in the day, before they invented paper, I suppose, they had this stuff. It's called, inkjet plotter media, Comstock. It's 3mm double matte film, and I don't know what exactly it's supposed to be, but it feels like a very flexible, soft, but very durable kind of cross between paper and plastic. And I've got about a 10-pound roll of it. It's a massive roll. I just got this and I think I was gonna throw it away. I didn't even know what I thought it was paper. But this is the material that came out of it. And this stuff is unbelievable. Now, I'm gonna take some outside and try to burn it to see what happens. Because if it just explodes, I might be less happy about using it. But I had it in front of that 250 watt headlight for about half an hour, and it didn't melt or catch fire. So I'm hopeful. But this as a second, and maybe as a second and third layer, but definitely as a first and second layer, one on the MF12 and one on the subject, I think is going to be spectacular. Because it's so soft and easy to work with to make a tunnel or whatever it is you use. So the question is, can you get this stuff from anywhere? I looked it up online, and a roll of this stuff back when people used it to make blueprints was over $200. So, but I've got about a mile of it. So if anybody wants some, I'm going to regret saying this. If anybody wants some, just let me know and I'll send it to you. Because at least I can send this in an envelope as opposed to a box or anything like that. So yeah, anyway, I'm super excited about it. I have got some photographs, but they're not ready to show you. I'll show you next time. Let me see. Has anybody ever heard of this stuff? Anybody ever heard of this 3D print medium? And not 3D print medium, sorry. This blueprint medium. Let me see. Larry has. It's archival and also designed to make prints for engineering drawings. It should just melt. I used to know what temperature it would start to lose dimension at, he said. You should be able to buy sheets of it. Well, I don't need to buy sheets of it. I'll never need to buy any. I mean, I've got enough to wallpaper the world. But yeah, if anybody wants a piece, it is amazing. It is better than tracing paper, and I have a feeling it's going to last longer. David wants some. He's right on the point of the spear there. So, all right, David, the rules are the same. You have to send me an email with your address and whatever, so as I know. Yeah, put in the subject line blueprint. Yeah, blueprint. Nobody else would write that in the subject line. And then I'll, yeah, two-side matte drafting film is what it's called. Don't call it paper. It's against the law. So, yeah, it's designed for reproducing plans. And Prusa is the way to go for 3D printing, Todd says, and I believe him. Drafting mylar, probably two-sided. You said that before I even announced what it was, didn't you? Didn't you, Larry? You know this stuff. You're right. Is it mylar? Seabell knows that as well. What do they teach you in Trinidad and Tobago, Seabell? I'm impressed. Brian Tomlinson said something rude and it was retracted. I wish I knew what it was. All right. Let me see. Reading these things backwards is a little confusing. Both Amy and Bud said the volume was okay, so you could hear what was going on with the testing. It wasn't a very good test, but it would have been a lot more fun if that bulb thing had been working, because my God, it got hot. Have you ever heard of an easy bake oven? This was like an easy bake microwave oven. This light shining on me in front of it. I was breaking out in a sweat, and I think I've got a bit of sunburn. It's very, very bright light, but it's broken now, so not to worry. Let me see. It is not hard to take a picture of your own eye. Just have the flash really low, Amy, because if you have it very high, you'll blind yourself. So you've got to be very, very careful. You know, I did spend a good 2 hours getting the studio set up for this demonstration tonight. I had 2 cameras and everything, and it was going to be perfect. And then at the last minute, I realized that I'd done something wrong, and in trying to fix it, I messed everything else up. There's a saying, I told you about it before, something about lock it. If you like it, lock it. Yeah. It's a thing. You have to do OBS to know what that means. It means you lock your settings for a given camera. And I forgot to do that. Big mistake. It's okay though. I'm going to tell you a story. I have to slow down though. There. If I slow down, the story will make more sense. This is a story about... I was reflecting today on how I answered a question that somebody made a statement in my hearing over the weekend about, I must have really wanted this badly to do what I've done over the last 4 or 5 years. And I thought, well, yeah, I do want this badly. This is the most fun I've ever had. It's the best way that I could imagine spending my days doing something. I mean, it feels purposeful and enjoyable and challenging, and I've met the best people I've ever met in my life doing this, from all over the world. So things have happened that could never have happened otherwise. Yeah, I would do a lot to protect that. But something else happened in the last few days that caused me to take a look at exactly what that meant, what it meant to be willing to do just about anything to keep this thing alive. And it concerned bracelets. And these bracelets, you've seen them before. I never actually told anybody the story of these bracelets, so I'm going to tell you about it now. And I'm not even selling them anymore. I was selling them for a while, and I'll explain that. But this really is just to tell you the story, so you know a little bit about how I got to be here. It happened when my friend Stuart, who was interviewed by me last week, and then he came to our Patreon meeting on Saturday, which was fantastic, and he answered lots of questions about how to raise jumping spiders. It was a very good session. But afterwards he asked me, he said, hey, would there be any way I could get one of your photography bracelets? And I'd forgotten all about them, and I said, well, yeah, I'd be happy to give you and your kids and the missus, that's what he calls his spouse, the missus, bracelets. Yeah, I think that would be a nice touch, and it would be a nice way for me to say thank you for him coming on. So the next day I went, and I knew where I'd put them. I'd put them in a box, and in my recollection, it was a fairly decent sized box. Well, I found the box, and I opened it up, and I could not believe my eyes at how many, I don't know what I just did then, how many bracelets there were in this box. And I started to think back on how this. I've got a picture here that I'm gonna share with you guys. It was something that I did early on, because I didn't know if it was going to catch on. I didn't know if what I was doing would be popular, if anybody would have any interest in watching my videos. The first video I know was an outdoor video, walking around taking pictures, and I thought, well, that was rubbish, though I had a great time making it. So my decision was, after a few weeks, I need to have something in case I don't become an internet star by next Tuesday. So I thought about it and decided that something that I could do would be to do some merchandise. That was back when I had a lot of weird ideas about what YouTube life was like, and I thought, if you sell merchandise, the people that like you or watch your videos will feel honor bound to buy a piece of merchandise. So I thought, well, if I could make some merchandise that had something to do with photography and then sell it, then maybe if things were slow getting started, like if it was going to be a whole month before I unseated the likes of that guy with the silver hair and that other, and his wife, the photographers, I thought it might take more than a month to get there, so I needed some backup. So what I did was, I thought about bracelets, and I thought that would be an interesting thing to do, because they've got cameras on them, you see, and they look photographic. And I thought, well, if I did a couple of different types of them, then I could sell them for a little bit, and that would tide me over. So I started making them, and I started making prototypes, and then more prototypes, and after a while I had hundreds and hundreds of these bracelets, and it was odd because they weren't selling. Nobody wanted them, but I kept making them because I thought it was my insurance. Anyway, in sorting through the bracelets for Stuart, which I was doing this afternoon, I separated out about 30 or so bracelets that were my best ones, the prototypes and the actual ones, the photography ones. And you couldn't even tell a difference in the box of bracelets. There are not hundreds, thousands of them. And I remember it must have been a month doing nothing but making bracelets until my fingers were bleeding. In fact, I had to swap hands that I was tying the knots with because they were literally bleeding, and I had to take days off for my fingers to heal. But yeah, and it was amazing. That's what I would do to keep this job, among other things. But at the time, it seemed like the most natural thing in the world. Now it seems a bit crazy, really. Does anybody want a 1,000 bracelets, by the way? They're very handy. If you have 1,000, you could change them every day for 10 years. No, just 3 years. But they'd always be different. Anyway, it was a good opportunity for me to laugh at myself, but also to take stock, and because I don't know, how much longer we'll be able to keep this show on the road. Hopefully the things that we're doing differently coming up in the next few weeks are going to turn things around. I hope so, because I'll continue to do this even if I have to make mohair undershorts. I don't even know what a mohair is, so the undershorts probably wouldn't be very comfortable, but yeah, I'll do whatever it takes, because I don't want to quit and go home. Anyway, that's my story, and a lot of you didn't know that. You may have seen those bracelets on my website. Yeah, I don't think they're there anymore, because it ended up being more expensive to ship them, because the postage kept going up, and the price of the things didn't. So yeah, it got really expensive to ship them. I'm not a very good businessman. I'm probably going to give these things away to people that want them. Yeah, or you give them to. I can't imagine that there's a charity that would want 10,000 bracelets. But anyway, so that wasn't a very good story, was it? It was a bit depressing, but it's not depressing at all. I won't stop at anything. We'll get this thing. We'll get this thing going one day. All right. The guys from DP Review have already landed at Petapixel. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to hear. Petapixel is an amazing machine, but I always thought that they were in two different leagues, those two. What do you think about that, everybody? DP Review folks over at Petapixel. How's that? Are they going to change Petapixel, or is Petapixel going to change them? What do you think? I'd be interested to hear. Joseph says that the Prusa Mark III is on his short list too, but he's leaning more towards a Creality Ender or a Lulzbot Mini 2. Never heard of that last one. And the Creality Ender, that is a Chinese company, I think. I don't know much about that, but yeah, I'll check both of those out and see. I'm not in any particular dead rush. Phil says, 3D printers, have you determined how accurate they are? Like for parts fitting together accurately? Yes, that was kind of my baseline evaluation, was they had to have very good evaluation when it came to accuracy of print, as well as a low fail rate and the software that made sense and all that. And every measure that I looked at, the Prusa seemed to be coming out on top. It's got a couple of things I don't like about it. I'd have to get an enclosure separately, that type of thing, but otherwise it looks good. Arthur is looking at the Platypod that Stuart was talking about. Yes, he also reviewed it on his channel, which you should look at. But yes, that's going to be a fun thing to have. I need to give those guys a call. And Patrick says something about nylons. Oh, it's for me to buy some nylons, or a roll of nylon even. Yes, that I hear that one's poisonous, and that you have to have some kind of ventilation set up to print nylon. But that's really I'd love to be able to print that stuff. That would be. It's expensive to buy the parts. Alistair says 3D printing is a sore subject. Investigated online printing services and found them prohibitively expensive. So did I. That was actually, it was quite a coinky-dink that I had actually spent the afternoon looking for a service to print the parts that I needed. I was looking at a microscope, an online microscope called, oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's not a very good microscope, but it was a very good price. Basically free, because you had to make it yourself, but it involved 3D printing. So I was looking at 3D printers to see if I could make this microscope. And when I went to get a service to print them, there is one in this town or in the neighboring town. It would have cost, I could have bought a Jaguar and driven to Seattle and bought myself a whatchamacallit, microscope quicker. So yeah, it was very, very expensive. The parts just cost a fortune and their turnaround is terrible. So I didn't do that. I'm going to go with the printer idea. And I'm a tinkerer and love to make stuff, so it's going to be a no-brainer. The idea of, you know, you've all seen these Instructables where they have fantastic stuff that you can build, but it all involves a 3D printer, so I can't do much of it, though I make the parts out of metal and wood, and I'm good at that. But you know, there's only so much you can do with hand tools. So I'm excited. This is going to be thrilling, and boy, there's going to be a lot of videos in it too, especially if I get my hot end in trouble. I hear that can happen. Yeah, so we'll see. Now, yes, let me see. Everybody is commiserating the loss of DP review. Yeah. And Andrew, you liked that Stuart video that we did, the interview one? I thought it was nice too. He's a very approachable chap, and he wants to come back on and do a second half to this interview. He just wants to talk about YouTube. But I have a suspicion he might want to vent a little bit about YouTube. And yeah, that sounds like somebody I wouldn't want to make terribly angry with me, but we'll think about it. Yeah, maybe I could go on his program and have that conversation. We'll see. But yeah, let me know what you think. So you guys do tend to agree that, yeah, are we going to lose that database completely? I mean, is DP Review going away forever? Surely a lot of their stuff will stay available. I don't know, maybe not. So Robert's explaining, we guys were up to our eyeballs in 3D printing, and someone's wife asked him if he had 2 beers already. All right, now I remember. I see. Okay, all right. Very funny. Yes, it was. It was the. It was not the. It was not the interview video. It was the Saturday video. Okay, that was funny. We were talking in the Patreon. The Patreon folks get together with me every other Saturday. Anybody that wants to. And we talk about whatever you want to for hours, and we talk about all kinds of different things, and it's great fun. We were chatting away, and we were having a conversation about 3D printers, and yeah, suddenly a woman comes on the microphone, loud and clear, says something about fixing us a couple of beers. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, and I didn't know what was going on, and I just kept talking. That's what I do when I don't know what's going on, but apparently Robert thought it was the funniest thing. It might have been. I'll go back and look at that. I was looking at the wrong video. Okay. All right. Let me see. Bud, I know, is a Prusa fan, and he owns one, and it just works. several people have told me it's the Apple of 3D printing, and that is about the right thing to say. You could talk me into doing anything if you said, yeah, that's the Apple of blank, because as much as I love to complain about Apple, I don't think I'd ever switch. Too old to switch. Bud also has a friend who's a master of using that device. Of course, that helps a lot. So there you go. And he lives nearby, so I think I'd be more likely to find somebody else close to here who would be able to mentor me on Prusa than maybe on something like Bamboo, which is brand new. Yeah, so we'll see. Joseph, how do you know, how do I know Joseph's not a fly? Yes, Joseph, Jeff Goldblum was a fly, you say, and Vincent Price was a fly. Well, no. Both of them were actors, human actors, who pretended to be flies. And in the case of Vincent Price, it wasn't even a very good pretend. He just put on a fly head that didn't look like a fly. And Jeff Goldblum had a bit more of, I think he might have had Mike Canfor working on his video, because it was more believable. But it was still just Jeff Goldblum. You could tell it was him, even though his head was that of a fly. So I think you've fallen for the oldest trick in the book, Joseph, and that's how I know you're not a fly, because I've talked to you and I've seen you on video and you're not a fly. Okay, have we covered that? I think so. John, welcome. Yeah, and you're right. DPR is going to petapixel. We heard that a little while ago. And a kakistocracy is a government run by the worst, least qualified, or most unscrupulous citizens. I am not going to say anything else in response to that brilliant definition of kakistocracy, and I'm beginning to think I know where that word might have come from, but I'd better not say anything else about it. That is, I've learned something. Thank you, a proud liberal. I really do appreciate it. J and JD and this is very difficult. JD and J. Sorry, you mis-ID'd too many Arctic penguins, I suppose. Sorry to hear that. All right, so let me see. Oh, Joseph got in touch with me on Thursday during the live stream to ask me if I knew anything about, or had I heard about, was I aware of. Not because he wanted me to tell him. He wanted to know whether or not to bother telling me. And I hadn't heard of this, but he wanted to tell me that my favorite lens, the EL Nikkor 50mm f2.8N, they never stopped making it. Do you know what that's like when you've been telling people for 10 years that, yeah, they don't make it anymore? You got to buy a used one, they don't make it anymore. No, they do make it. They've been making it ever since they stopped making it. It's got a different name. It's called the Rayfact IL50 for industrial lens. It's made by Nikkor, but it's made by their industrial photography branch. It is on a par with the kind of lenses that were made for movies, printing Nikkor lenses and other high-end industrial lenses. They're not made for consumers. Mike, who I was just talking about, the special effects wizard and Oscar winner, actually has a collection of these lenses, these Rayfacts. But they're not Rayfacts. He got his before the Rayfacts were made. But the 50mm EL Nikkor is, I think, largely the same optical formula, but it is a stunningly gorgeous lens. It is solid metal and it is solid expensive. I was telling Rick about it, and he sent me a message to say he'd found one on sale for $1,300. That's for a lens that I paid $25 for my first one and $40 for my second one. It's gone up a bit. But that's what the Rayfact costs, the Rayfact IL50. And I looked at the spec sheet. It really does just look like a beautifully engineered version of the same lens. I'd like it just to say I've got one, but I don't think I'll get one at those prices. Somebody was asking me if I'd seen the graph for it, the whatchamacallit. You know what I'm trying to say. And I hadn't. I thought I had, but it wasn't in the brochure. Yeah, but the person to ask about stuff like that would be Joseph, because he knows about it. He's probably. Did you say you've never seen one of those lenses, Joseph? I think you did say that, because I don't know anybody who's seen one or touched one. So they have about 20 lenses in their lineup. Rayfact does, in all different focal lengths for all different purposes, but they're all expensive. They've even got a 105mm macro lens in that lineup. I shudder to think how much that would cost. Okay, let me see. And Dana, greetings from, oh dear, Mandan ND. Let me guess, North Dakota. Am I right? Mandan, never heard of that. Is it a town? Do you know where you are? Nope, I have never heard of that before. I'll look it up afterwards though and make sure. Right, let me see. Everybody was hearing me fine apparently when I was over there in the corner. Not to worry, lots of good loud and clears. Then we get back onto the subject of that nifty paper stuff. 3D printers are quite good at parts fitting other 3D printed parts, as long as they're not wobbly. Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? When you're making 3D printer parts, you have to make them accurately by drawing them accurately. I guess they're only as accurate as your drawings, which is going to be a problem for me because I tend to make things up as I draw. We'll have to see. I've got to learn that. And fitting a thing from the real world is a little harder. Well, it would be. It would be. Unless you've got calipers, which I do, in which case you can measure it accurately. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. And you just fill in the gaps with glue. That's what I would do. Let me see. Mylar drafting film. Yeah, well, that was where so that was where we were after we talked about the diffuser. It is, I guess it's Mylar. Had a different name back then, but it's good stuff. All right. Oh, Larry's talking about 3D printers again, and he's talking about the kit version that Bud mentioned. Yes, you can learn a lot from how it works by putting the kit together, is what I gather you are saying, and I think that is probably true. I don't mind putting it together. In fact, I'm fine doing that. That would be fun to do, and definitely if it saves you a bit of money. So that's good. Zotrax is the Apple of 3D printing. This is new information, and this is from Joseph. Proprietary everything. You have to do everything their way. They even had proprietary filaments with non-standard melting points. That doesn't sound like a good idea, and it doesn't really sound as much like Apple. I mean, yeah, you can't fiddle around with the innards of an Apple computer, though I replaced the battery on mine one time. Yeah, it is proprietary, but it does interface with the rest of the world. You don't need special electrons to use an Apple. It sounds like that printer does. I'll look at it though. The email address, contact@Allan Walls Photography. Write to me, contact@AllanWallsPhotography.com, and write diffusion material. No, what did I say? Blueprint in the subject line. Give me your address, and if you're feeling benevolent, put whatever you think the postage might be in the, you know, however you send postage. But you don't have to worry about that if you don't want to. It's just in case. Carlos is visiting and he waves, which is a silent act, which is why you couldn't hear it, but I will wave back. This is now going to become a GIF and it'll show up everywhere my picture is, because that's what Carlos does. He will snatch a picture of me going like this and he'll make it into a continuous, never-ending wave, and it'll be all over Discord. And people will find it funny. I don't understand that, but I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. Go over there now, and it will probably already have happened. Yep. I'm betting $1. Okay. Bismarck. That's, I think we're figuring out where Mandan is. And Mike, who seems to know his way around North Dakota, says, yep, it's right next to Bismarck. Where the hell is Bismarck? In fact, where is North Dakota? I'm taking it it's north of here, but yeah, way north? I think so. All right, let me see. Amy just put my email address in, which was very kind, because David was waiting for me to give the address about an hour ago. And Joseph has words about the 105mm f4 UV Nikkor that goes for $6,000 used. Has quartz and fluorite in place of regular old glass. They're not cheap. It's the same rarefied territory as the Coastal Optics 60mm UV VIS-IR. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Coastal Optics. This is obviously something I need to know about so that I can wish I had one. I will write it down. Coastal Optics 60mm. That's a short focal length. Alrighty, let me see. ND Cannon Shooter. Dana, he's talking to Dana Middleton, so I'm gonna pry. It's none of my business, but he says, "Cool, you're about 100 miles west of where I'm located. Nice to see another North Dakota person there." Well, you know, there's a third North Dakota person who doesn't talk when she comes on here. She just lurks, but she's also in North Dakota, not far from, I guess. No, I have no idea where she is. No idea what town she's near. All right. What should they put in the subject line if they want diffusion material? Blueprint. Blueprint. It probably doesn't matter, because I'll find it anyway. I'll find just whatever. Blueprint. That's good. All right. Steve Jobs invented the Apple electrons. Good point. He did, didn't he? And they have an extra quark in them, I'm sure. That's why they work so well. All right, Carlos. Oh, Bruce has chipped in a super chat with a question. No question. Oh, Bruce wants a bracelet. I'll send you a bracelet. Yeah. You have to tell me what kind you want. No, you wouldn't know that because I've taken it down. I think I've taken it down. I'll get in touch, Bruce, because there's choices you have to make about that. I will send you a brace of bracelets. Okay, let me see. Bismarck was sunk in World War II. No, that was a ship, I think, or a submarine, or an aircraft carrier, but it wasn't the town. You're confused. I found something Joseph doesn't know about. All right. Yeah, it's 200 miles west of Fargo on I-94 if anybody's interested. I mean, that's how I get there. There you go. It's on the Missouri River. We all know that. Where is the Missouri River? I thought that was in Missouri, not North Dakota. Terrible name for a river. I mean, considering where it is. Yep, it's just north of South Dakota. Gary, go stand in the corner. That was an unnecessary bit of information. I guess probably not. The way things are, it maybe it's south of South Dakota. Could be. Robbie, hey, did you get your poison that I sent you? I hope so, because I sent it about a year ago, right? It should have arrived. Do you have or have you seen the Michael Irwine macro lens book? Yes, I have, but my experience with Michael Irwine is spending hours talking to him on the phone. He's a nice chap. He's a friend of mine. And yes, he does have a book. He uses a lot of really high-end equipment, and he also has a printing night course. He takes some fantastic photographs. He's a nice guy. Did you know he was a retired musician? Toured with Bob Dylan. I think it was Bob Dylan a long time ago. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. And you can't find the link to share for the book. No, Robbie, I don't know that I could put my hands on it right this minute. But if I find it, I'll send it to you. Yeah, that's you're the first person that's ever brought that gentleman's name up. Good for you. I like him. So Joseph says the Coastal Optics 60mm is the world's only lens that's APO from around 200 to 1200 millimeters. No chromatic aberrations, even in hyperspectral imaging. It was designed by the legendary Brian Caldwell. I'll take your word for it. I don't know Brian personally, and I'll just assume he was in fact legendary. Well, Amy's saying please click on the thumbs up thing, which normally she only says when I'm running out of time. Oh, we ran out of time 6 minutes ago. I'll finish up checking the messages though, because you've been patient. Surprise you with the sort of bracelet. Okay, you know that I made these in 3 different styles, a bulkier one to a skinnier one, with that being the skinniest of them, and yeah, in 10 different camera models. But I know what cameras you use, so I'll surprise you along those lines. Righty-ho, so yep, Robbie got the decon, good. Oh, I don't know. No. That's on me and the folks that chipped in some postage got everything covered. So yeah, we're good. That stuff is marvelous. I don't know if you've used any of it yet, but it is great. Robbie's asking if I'd be interested in a vial or 2 of small insects. Well, you know, that would be rather like Coles to Newcastle, sending insects to Alabama. Alabama is largely owned by insects, so I don't think you'd need to worry about that. I think insects are fairly hard to come by where you are. I don't know that for a fact, but yeah, I think I'm probably okay though. But thank you for asking. Third nostril. The Discord link doesn't work. Well, I don't know really where to begin with that. I think we'll start with your name. Third nostril. What does that even mean? I think Amy's already on top of the Discord thing and she's fixed the problem with the link, and then third nostril says no. Probably out of his nose he said that because he's got 3 nostrils. All right. Well, Phil said another good one, so he's out of here. Thank you guys for coming, but a piece of equipment just broke loose. Hopefully not a camera. I will get this dang OBS thing up and working properly again. Yeah, I got complacent. I'll get uncomplacent again. Yeah, I don't know what John is suggesting you do, Discord, but whatever he says, he knows more about it than I do, so just do it. There you go. Catch you next time, Bruce. Third nostril. He likes the name. Okay, all right. Yeah, what do you have, Robbie, that's interesting? Yes, I'll tell you what. I'll do the easy thing here and say yes. I would love to receive a little vial of your local black flies or whatever it is you have up there. Bitey things. Yeah, I would like that. I would like to see some insects that we don't have around here because I seldom buy them. Good night, Robert. Glad you enjoyed the Tuesday. Good night, Joseph. See you on Thursday. And let me not forget, don't forget, 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be doing both of my live streams live from Boston, the first week in April. Okay, so we'll still be on at the same times, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. The second one on Thursday is going to be live from the studio, the Bridge in Cambridge, Massachusetts. A music studio, yeah. We're recording music. I'm photographing it. That'll be fun. Good night, everybody. I will see you soon, and have a great night. Later.